Here I am, first try. I am Jim Cherry. I'm going to read from my book of short stories, The Lion Communique. The story is called Godwired, and it's been accepted in an anthology called Touching the Face of the Cosmos that is going to be published this September. In theory, it was supposed to be published 2.5 years ago, so we'll see. So I guess I'll just jump in right at the middle of the story. And if I go too long, just, there's a big hook. Okay, so again, this is called Godwired. 11 hours later, Jake was in Israel. As his car approached the command center, he saw the UFO for the first time. It was huge, covering almost half a city block. Much of his life had been filtered by video feeds, pictures, data feeds, and intelligence reports. He'd never been a field agent. He was an analyst, always confined to the walls of cubicles and offices. The reality of it was almost beyond his ability to comprehend. To Jake, the juxtaposition of the images looked incompatible, impossible, an advanced craft hovering over an ancient structure. As much as she didn't want to admit it to the Admiral, there was the sociological, maybe even religious implications of a vehicle of probable alien origin hovering over the church. Just the knowledge of its existence would lead to many a step forward for mankind. The Israeli military had set up a command center in a tent a couple of blocks away from the hovering craft. There was a lot of activity swirling around Jake. There were 20 to 30 people there, and 10% were always in motion, but never the same 10%. There were communications. There was a reconnaissance team being briefed. The military had set up a perimeter to keep the press and onlookers away, and there was a digital countdown clock that was in motion too. A lieutenant in the Israeli army came up to him. "Mr. Walker," she inquired. "Yes." "Lieutenant Dahan, Israeli intelligence. Have you been briefed since you arrived?" "No, I literally just walked in." We've reconnoitered the craft. Drones fly over his flybys, sent drones in to get a closer look. We've even bounced radar off of it, and we've come up with what we think is a fairly good idea of the size of the ship and the volume inside, what it might be. And we've estimated it could hold easily a couple hundred people, maybe more. You and me and one other are the team going up into the craft. The broadcast has ceased. We have about an hour before we catch up to the time coordinates the craft broadcast. Who is the third? We're also waiting for Dr. Weinhardt. Doctor? Now, a voice from behind said. They turned to see a man who looked too young to carry the title of doctor, but he had the calm, peaceful countenance of a cleric. "Dr. Weinhardt," the lieutenant said, "this is Jake Walker, American intelligence." They shook hands. Dr. Weinhardt is an expert on the Torah as well as a scholar on all things ancient, and Mr. Walker was the one who solved the problem of the alien search pattern. "Rabbi David Weinhardt," he said, extending a hand. "I have dual degrees in theology, so I'm a rabbi and an archaeologist. So technically, I'm also a doctor. Of which, both theology and archaeology for Israel is the best of both worlds. I see. Jake, that would not be short for Jacob, would it?" "Yes, it is. My parents named me Jacob." Is it not ironic that you're the one that you're the one who made contact with the aliens? How so? In the Old Testament, it was Jacob who climbed the ladder to heaven to talk with God. More like Jonah waiting to go up into inside the belly of the beast, Jake said. "I'm sorry, I'm afraid I'm not very religious. I'm not Jewish. I'm American. I've been Jake since the moment I was born. It was only Jacob on my birth certificate because that is the formalization of Jake. I was raised Catholic, and that ended when? When I learned to love the logic of numbers, they add up, they make sense. Numbers don't lie. The solution to a problem leads to a truth. It brought this craft here. You don't believe in God? Depends on what day you ask me. What about today? Maybe we've been looking for God in the numbers all along, Jacob. Don't you find it alien to love a number? Rabbi Weinhardt asked. Alien is what we're here for. This craft may be proof of something entirely different. Why is everyone of the opinion that something of a religious nature is going to happen here? In Israel, Lieutenant Dahan said, everything religious is political, and everything political is religious. No one is sure what is supposed to happen here, but your guess is as good as any. It seems to me that the UFOs have been projections of what we want them to be, angels, demons, or gods. If we've been nervous about nuclear weapons, they're here to stop us or to reassure us that we've never been what they've never been is a thing unto themselves. The countdown clock reached 0. An aperture opened in the bottom of the craft, a pod emerged, and then it was hovering noiselessly just above the ground. Had they blinked? Had the pod descended so fast that in one moment it could be in the air and the next hovering at ground level? Or had they just witnessed some other process, teleportation? Was it beamed down? Jake understood this wasn't magic, just a technology he didn't understand, or perhaps couldn't yet comprehend. An aperture opened in the side of the pod. They all looked at each other. Well, Jake asked. It's another step up the ladder, Jacob, Rabbi Weinhardt said. Inside the pod was spacious, or at least it seemed to be. It was all glossy white. There was a lot of light in, but no visible source of it. There was no horizon, no way to gauge the depth, size, or height of the room. No seam at a corner, no curvature of a rounded wall, or even an observable wall. An opening about 8 feet long and 3 feet wide appeared. They couldn't tell if it was a window that had opened to an adjacent room, or if it was an opening in space. Inside the window were 4 beings that were vaguely humanoid, though that they had seemed to change moment to moment as if they were in some inchoate state. To answer your questions, the words and sounds appeared in their minds. An ambient voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It wasn't sound reverberating off walls, but echoing in their minds. They weren't sure which of the aliens was communicating with them. We cannot join you because the gravity of your world and the composition of gases that sustain you would not sustain our life. We are beings of deep space. We live between the stars. We are no longer limited by terrestrial concerns. Each of you perceives us differently. The form you see in the window, think of it not as a window, but a mirror of your subconscious. Our images conform to your expectations. The images you perceive as us are there for your convenience. Our form is quite different than yours. You understand our language? The answer came back so fast it's almost bordered on precognition. Yes, we understand your languages. To us it is like one language. It's quite simple. Although there are other creatures that inhabit your world, they have much more complex forms of communication. You don't need to vocalize your questions. We discern them from the chaos of your competing thoughts. Where are we? Lieutenant Dahan asked. You're still in the pod. The pod is in the ship. I didn't feel any acceleration. If what we witnessed of the speed of the pod is accurate, I would have to say, yes, we are in the alien ship, Jake said. Why are you here? Rabbi Weinhardt asked. We're in search of knowledge. The humans looked perplexed. You're looking for answers? Lieutenant Dahan asked. I thought aliens were supposed to be the advanced technology to bring us all the answers, to bring us knowledge, the cure for cancer, cheap power sources, new propulsion systems, the secret to immortality, peace. Those are the questions we have. They sought us out. They have their own questions, Rabbi Weinhardt said. It makes sense, Jake said. It's always been assumed that they would come with answers for us. But why would they travel vast distance of interstellar space to give us answers? How would they even know what the questions would be? On our voyages of discovery, were we ever the bringers of knowledge? We were always seeking something, whether it was a route to India or gold. And those explorers were never bringers of peace, Weinhardt said. Everyone was silent. Were these aliens the equivalent of Columbus and all that he had brought to the New World? Or were they the peaceful explorers of the stars we've always imagined ourselves to be? The arrival of extraterrestrial life has long been prophesied in science fiction, books, movies, radio broadcasts, TV shows, and speculation by visionaries, dreamers, the fearful, and even stoned philosophers. All had different theories. Most seem on the side with the benevolent alien hypothesis. We have many questions as well. Where did you come from? Is there more life in the universe, Jake asked? Life is common. Life that advances to the technological is not so common. It isn't necessary to most life. Species that step out of the natural order are the ones that suffer the most. What brings us to your planet is a most serious matter. It is a matter of the soul. The soul? Weinhardt said. You know of the soul? It is an absolute in the universe. We're in search of the universal one. The universal one? They all look at one another perplexed. What is that? The universal one is a primal being. It is energy that incorporates into the beings it is helping. That is a lot we don't understand about it. There is a membrane between its nature and the rest of the universe. I'll stop there. Thank you.